Welcome back to our Entitled People series, where you'll get to hear stories about people who think the world revolves around them. Guys, I hope you're having an amazing day today. In this episode, you're going to hear some wild Entitled People stories. The first story features a Karen who thinks she's more deserving than a children's hospital. Yikes. The second story is about a woman who blames OP for ruining her kid's Christmas. The third story involves OP's dad demanding he spends Christmas with him. And the fourth story is with a teacher who spreads a rumor about OP. My friends, I hope you enjoy the stories today and hit that subscribe button for future stories. Let's dive in. I live near a children's hospital in the UK, and they occasionally hold donation drives to get nice things for the kids. My partner and I had just gotten a new video game console, so our old one was collecting dust. We thought, since it was close to Christmas, why not donate it? It seemed like a great way to do something nice. So we went to the hospital having filled out a form telling us when to hand it in. Unfortunately, there was a mix-up with the form. We had filled it out for a different hospital and weren't allowed to hand it in that day due to infection control. It was a bit annoying, but never mind. We rebooked for the next day and turned to leave. Enter Karen. She was behind us, waiting for her own form, so she must have heard our discussion. A few seconds later, she followed us out to the car park and called out, "Excuse me, did I hear you're giving away a gaming console?" I replied, "Yeah, well, we were going to, but we got a little mixed up." She responded, "So, you don't need it anymore?" I said, "Nah, but we're booked in for tomorrow, so it'll be okay. We're coming back to donate it." She then said, "Why don't you give it to me? I could give it to my son for Christmas." I explained, "I'm sorry, we just wanted to give it to the hospital, to do some good." Karen snapped, "Are you saying that this wouldn't be doing any good? We've had a horrible year this year, and this would be an amazing gift for my son. He would love it." My fiancé stepped in to help and said, "Listen, lots of people have had a bad year. We just feel that the hospital is the best place for it." Karen continued, "Why? I'm in need too. It isn't fair to give everything to those kids. My son has been good all year, and he deserves it more." My fiancé told her, "It's not a competition, and we're giving it to the hospital." Karen replied, "You're so rude. You should give things to people who need them. If they're in a hospital, they don't need games. What a ridiculous idea." My fiancé said, "Sorry, like she said, we're booked in for tomorrow. We're going to get our bus now." At this point, he helped usher me away from her. I'm not great with confrontation, so she kept calling out to us as we laughed about how her son was more deserving than the kids in the hospital and how it was rude of us to ignore her. It was pretty awful. Sorry if I'm not great at telling the story. We did go back the next day to very grateful nurses, so it's a happy ending. That is some entitlement, guys. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if that woman took the console and sold it for money for herself, saying she deserves it more than her son. This comment warms my heart so much. Someone said, "Thank you so much for doing that." Every little thing like that, no matter how small, makes children in the hospital happy. I remember when I was in the hospital, I was just happy to have some crayons. These kids will be so excited. Next story, I got a seasonal position at a local game shop and was told I ruined a child's holiday. With the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series being the new consoles, we sold out of the 10 we got on Black Friday within 15 minutes of opening. It was sporadic when we got more. On December 11th, maybe 5 minutes before I was supposed to clock out, I was told we were going live with sales of limited stock. So I ended up staying an extra hour, and we sold out again. Last night, a woman came in asking about the games we had in stock, which wasn't much due to the holidays. We offered to print a list, but let's just say it was a bit difficult. Not only did she refuse the list, but she also got mad because I scanned every game case she brought up, only to tell her it wasn't in stock. She said, "Why are the cases on the wall then if they're not in stock? That makes no sense to keep them up there." I told her, I agree. However, my boss's boss wants us to keep all the game cases up. If you'd like, we can order them on the store's website and have them shipped to your home. Another option is I can check other stores. The woman asked, "Will it be at my home before Christmas?" I said, "I can't guarantee that. I can check other stores." She then asked, "Well, how far would I have to drive?" I replied, "About 30 minutes for Town A and 45 minutes for Town B. They both have 2 of the games you want in stock." She said, "That's too far and I have other things to do." I told her, "I can have it shipped to your home, but there's no guarantee it'll be there by Christmas." She asked, "Why even have them shipped if there's no guarantee? You can just go pick them up for me." I replied, "I'm pretty sure that's against company policy. If you want, I can sell you a gift card in place of the games." That way, after Christmas, whoever the games are for can come in and pick out the games they want." The woman said, "Fine, let's do that. At least this way I can tell my kid that you were the one who ruined their Christmas." After she left, I went to put back the stack of games she brought up, only to find out that she also messed up the shirts and collectibles. Of course, OP ruined her kid's Christmas by not having the game in stock. There's no way she ruined it by poor planning on her part. I can't get enough of these stories, guys. I really can't. Next story. I was raised by a single father with whom I rarely saw eye to eye. He tried to mold me into his views of traditional masculinity, the good and the bad. He'd praise me when I excelled in certain roles, like being a handyman or a football player, but then be dismissive when I cried or was bullied at school. He took his role as the disciplinary figure very seriously, even during the holiday season. My dad always throws a party for our family every Thanksgiving and Christmas. He provides great food, and some of my relatives are pretty decent. However, my dad is a terrible host. He invites everyone, including people who are toxic to be around, and I swear every year there's always some fight about the pettiest things. On top of that, my dad makes all the parties about him. He tries to micromanage everything, from the movies we'd watch to whatever we talked about. The worst was when he'd brag about me, sounding like he molded me into his views on traditional masculinity. He'll brag about the time I was the MVP in youth football, even though I hated it, or that I was awesome in martial arts, even though that's not what it was about. When I mention achievements I'm actually proud of, like taking up creative writing or a new book I'm reading, he'll pay no attention. My dad says he's happy I have a girlfriend, but also that he's glad I didn't turn out to be part of the LGBTQ community. As for gifts, he'd only give me things he approved of, whether I wanted them or not. New boxing gloves? Heck yeah. A PlayStation 4 or a Nintendo 3DS? Could be worse. A journal or the entire Harry Potter book series? No, he refuses that stuff because, quote, "I will not do that to you." Basically, I've come to associate the holidays with my dad asserting more dominance than usual and being forced to interact with toxic family members. Fortunately, my girlfriend's dad invited me to spend Thanksgiving and Christmas with them, and I think I'll finally get to enjoy myself for a change. Earlier today, my dad called me asking when I was coming over. I told him I had already said I wasn't coming, that I'd be going to my girlfriend's place. He said things like, "You always spend the holidays with your old man. Your cousins like seeing you, you know." I tried to argue that inviting family over might not be the best idea due to the pandemic. He called nonsense on that, saying I didn't seem worried about giving my girlfriend COVID. Then my dad went on a tirade. He said, "Oh, I see how it really is. You think I'm a terrible father, right? You'd rather throw me and your whole family under the bus when all we want to do is spend the holidays with you. I'm offering you free food and family time, but you'd rather waste it all than be grateful that I'm even allowing you into my home. You're welcome, by the way." I've told my dad many times how he makes me feel bad about myself, or just in general. He'd argue, "I gave you everything you needed to survive in this tough world. If I made you feel that bad, how'd you get so good at karate?" He's also said, "You wouldn't know how to get a girlfriend if it weren't for me." In other words, my feelings are invalid because I still succeeded in some aspects of my life. I hate it when my dad guilt trips me like this because, as much as everyone tells me he's wrong, there's some part of me that feels like I should feel guilty. I get that Thanksgiving and Christmas are all about family, but for once, I'd like to be with a family that's actually fun to be around. Others have said I should be grateful to even have a dad, let alone one who's taken care of me. That's like saying having a dog that barks and bites you is better than being petless. I don't know, I just want a nice holiday season for once. Next story. My grandma is an interesting individual. One might place her in the Karen category. She's from a small town where you're either very well off and waspy, or you live in an old school converted into an apartment building. She's on the waspy side. She knows everything and everyone, and will always find something about you to nitpick. Fun times. The best times were in 8th grade when she was a math teacher at my school for junior high. Oh boy, was that a dandy time. Because I was her granddaughter, I had a huge target on me. Every day, she would watch me like a hawk and wait for the split second I looked away. Then she'd shout, "Ope, pay attention. Don't make me tell your mother you're goofing off in my class." The whole class would giggle, she'd grin, and her ego would inflate like swim shorts when you first walk into the water. One time I accidentally wore slippers to school, and for the rest of the school year she would bring it up, saying things like, "Can you not remember the equation, like you couldn't remember your shoes?" Cue malicious grins and laughter from her and other students. But the straw that broke the camel's back was when I got my first boyfriend. A bit of backstory: I was held back in kindergarten, so I'm a year older than everyone in my 8th grade class. I was dating a boy in the 10th grade, but he had skipped a grade, so he was actually a year younger than his 10th grade class. This made our age difference only about a year. However, from an outside perspective, when you hear a 10th grade boy is dating an 8th grade girl, your first reaction might be, ew, and boy did my grandma eat that up like it was her last meal. Anytime we visited, she would make side comments like, "We know P prefers older guys, right, OP?" Or, "If it was my child, I certainly wouldn't approve, but I guess times are different." It was annoying, but it wasn't interfering with my life. That is, until she started gossiping and spreading rumors about me to other teachers. She told them I was sneaking around with an older boy and was probably experimenting with things not meant for my age. She also claimed I was going into teachers' lounges and bathrooms with him, and heavily implied my parents were against it all. During lunch, girls would ask me if it was true that I'd done certain inappropriate things. If I asked a teacher to use the restroom in class, they would refuse or interrogate me for several minutes to make sure I wasn't sneaking off to meet my older boyfriend. Before all this, I was a fly on the wall and completely fine with that. Now, I was miserable and felt completely helpless. After coming home crying for who knows how many days in a row, my mom got fed up. I remember her screaming, "That's it!" grabbing her keys and storming out the door. When she returned, she said my grandmother wouldn't be bothering me anymore. Once I got older, she told me a brief summary of what happened. Basically, my mom arrived and approached her calmly, explaining that I was her child and she had full control of the situation. She even explained the age difference. After politely asking her to back off and stop telling lies to her coworkers, my grandma scoffed and said, "You don't know what she could be doing behind closed doors. I'm just keeping an eye out for her." This set my mom off. She started yelling at my grandma about shaming her own granddaughter and how miserable I was. She said she had no right to say or do any of this, and that what she was doing was cruel and inappropriate. My grandma's response was, "How dare you enter my home and accuse me of this? Get out of my house." So, my mom left. And how did this all end? Like you'd expect, Grandma acts like it never happened. She never brings it up and avoids the conversation if she's around. It's irritating, but at the same time, it's expected. Now that I'm an adult and we're all aware of her silly ways, we can just smile and nod until we go home and then rant about how mean she was during dinner. OP's mom is a hero for standing up for her in this situation. I can't believe OP's grandma would start rumors about her own granddaughter. She definitely sounds like a wonderful, wonderful grandma. Next story. So, I was in the grocery store last night, and the lady in line in front of me was on her phone while the high school girl cashier was ringing her up. The cashier said, $15.33, please. The woman handed her some money, said, "Don't worry about the change," while still on the phone, and walked out. The cashier looked confused, and I was like, "What's up?" She said, "Her bill was $15.33, but she only gave me $15 and told me to keep the change. She's on the phone, though, so I really don't know what to do." I was like, "What, you want me to go get her?" The girl clearly wasn't looking forward to confrontation, but I was. I ran out and told the lady that she had shorted the kid 33 cents. The lady said, "Hold on a second, there's a guy here ranting and raving about something. What do you want?" I said, "You didn't pay your whole bill. You still owe the store 33 cents. She took out her purse and said, "33 cents? Are you kidding me?" and started rummaging through it. She held out 2 quarters toward me, and I said, "Do I look like the cashier?" She then made a huge grunt, stomped back in, and paid, but made a big show of saying, 33 cents, really? I'm here like 3 times a week, and you can't let 33 cents go?" The poor girl was embarrassed but grateful. Nobody clapped or gave me $100, but I still felt like Batman. "Guys, I'm gonna try that out sometime. I do need a new laptop. You think it'll work?" Or, "Sir, you only gave me $20 for the $700 laptop." "What? I'm here 4 times a year shopping for electronics, and you people can't let $680 go? The nerve of you!" "I'm kidding. That probably won't work. I'm just being silly." Next story. This happened a few days ago, but I'm still shaking my head at this woman and her family. They spent about 10 minutes in the store with no problems. I got it all rung up and ready to go, and she wrote a check, still no problems. I asked for ID to verify the check, which is store policy. Then she looked at the pen she was holding and said, "Since I just spent over $100 here, I'm entitled to take this pen." Now, this pen is the best pen we've had for writing on thermal receipt paper. Everyone knows that when you get a pen like this, you'll never have any problems with it not writing at all. I looked at her and said, "You cannot have that pen, but we do have free ones that you can take. You can take as many of the free ones as you want." But she said, "I'm entitled to take this pen." I just wanted to give her a piece of my mind. I told her again, "No, you cannot have it." I turned to put her check into my register and she just walked off with my darn pen. I told my boss lady what happened, and she's writing the customer a letter saying that she's banned from the store until she returns the pen. Oh no, lady, if you spend $100 at an establishment, you spent $100. You don't get to decide what you're entitled to because you spent a certain amount. That's not how things work. She probably takes all the sugar packets from the tables at restaurants too, guys. Next story. Here's some background. I work in a supermarket, and I've been there for nearly 7 years. I've run out of any care I had when I began. Today was slightly different. Prepare for a long, wild ride. So I'm hanging out, packing bags for a CO worker, anything to get out of doing real work. When the customer points at the screen and abruptly says, "That's wrong," I replied, "Oh, sorry, what's wrong?" She said, "The salad tubs. They should be 2 for $7. So I went to check out the deli again and realized that she'd got one classic tub, which is $4, and one gourmet tub, which is $5. The special is only for the classic tubs. The sign very clearly states that under the classic heading, there's no mention of any special under the gourmet heading. I grabbed the sign, headed back to the register and said, "Sorry, look, you've grabbed one of each. It's only the classic tubs that are on sale. Would you like me to get you another classic tub?" The woman then said, "That's wrong. That's false advertising. If it's written on the sign, it means all of them." I told her, "Well, sorry, that's not how it works." She then said, "You have to give it to me for $7. Your attitude is appalling." My CO worker chimed in and said, "I can't mark stuff down without asking the night manager." She said, "Call him down here now." So I called him. He's busy, and asked what's going on. I explained, and he said, "Give it to her for $7. What? No, I couldn't believe this was happening to me. I took a deep breath, turned around, smiled, and said, "Well, I've spoken to him, and he says today we'll reduce that price for you." She said, "It isn't reducing the price, it's giving me what I'm entitled to." My CO worker changed the prices, she slammed her card into the machine, and the transaction didn't process because she was putting in the wrong PIN. My CO worker said, "Sorry, you've put in the wrong PIN. Can you please try that again?" She was screaming at this point and said, "Stop sabotaging my finances. What's your name?" My CO worker responded, "Mark," and she said, "Mark, you will be hearing from me." She finally left, and I was shaking because I really don't deal well with people shouting at me. But the next customer was lovely, and we all relaxed, thinking it was going to be all right. Nope. Half an hour later, the night manager called from upstairs and said, "OP, what did you and Mark do?" I've never had a customer yell so much about how bad the staff are. I explained the situation to him, and he said, "No, you know better. The customer is always right. If they're going to be like that, give them what they want and move on. It's their happiness over yours." I hung up the phone, looked at Mark, and burst into tears. I haven't cried like that for years at this job, and I was so ashamed. People were looking at me, so I just mumbled, "Back in a minute," walked outside, and let it out for about 5 minutes. I eventually started feeling bad for leaving Mark on the register alone, so I fixed my makeup and went back inside. The rest of the shift passed. A man stole $100 worth of meat, kids were caught stuffing chocolate down their pants, and Mark made me laugh just before I left. The night manager pulled me aside and repeated exactly what he said earlier. I smiled, nodded, left, called my boyfriend, ranted forever, came home, and now I'm writing this. I can't believe the manager told OP that the customer is always right and that it's their happiness over yours in this situation. You can clearly see that there are signs saying one item's on sale and the other isn't, and you can't mix and match. The manager should have come down there and let that woman know. I'm a little upset that the entitled woman won that day. Now this lady will go to other stores and pull this kind of stuff, thinking she's always right and can do no wrong. I'm really upset. Next story. I'm a 32-year-old woman, and I just bought my first house. It has 3 bedrooms and a yard, which is just what I need right now. I'm single and have 2 dogs and a cat. My sister, who is 34, has 3 children and lives in a 2-bedroom apartment. Lately, she's been talking about how such a tiny living space is not enough for the 4 of them. When she found out about the house I bought, she became very upset and told me that I was being wasteful since I'm single, don't have kids, and therefore don't need such a big space. I reminded her that what I do with my hard-earned money is none of her business. She went on to complain to our mother about how selfish I was being. Yesterday evening, I got a call from my mom telling me that I should let my sister and her kids move into my house. My house! I told her that no one was going to live in the house I paid for but me, and that the extra space would be great for my dogs to play in. My mom also got very upset with me and told me I was being unreasonable, that my sister's kids are growing and need the space more than my dogs. I offered to help my sister out financially so she could rent a bigger place. My mom got my sister on the phone, who shot down the idea, telling me that I needed to let her and her kids live in my house. When I refused again, she very generously suggested a compromise that I could live in the house with her and her kids and wouldn't have to find somewhere else to live. She said this as if she was doing me a favor. I told her she had lost her mind and hung up. However, my mom and sister kept pestering me, with my mom trying to guilt-trip me by saying that my sister had been crying over not being able to live in a nice house like mine. I got fed up and decided to call them out. So, I made a post on Am I the A-hole about this, and of course, most of the commenters could hardly believe how entitled my mom and sister are. They got bashed pretty badly. After getting the verdict, I sent my sister and mom a link to the post, letting them know I made it. As expected, they freaked out. My mom texted and called me many times, telling me what a horrible daughter I am and how I've embarrassed her in front of so many people. I told her to calm down, as these are all strangers on the internet who have no idea who she is. But asking my mom to listen to reason is like asking my cat to stop shoving things off horizontal surfaces. So, I told her I'd talk to her when she's willing to act like an adult. My sister's been crying about this to my mom and any other relative who will listen, but most of them won't. They've been on my side from the start and agreed that my sister's demands were ridiculous. They think this whole thing is hilarious. It seems like OP's sister was the golden child growing up, and the mother still favors her. Who in their right mind tells someone who bought a house for themselves that they need to give it to another family member? OP even offered to help her sister financially, and she refused it, suggesting to move in with her instead. I'm so glad that OP never allowed them to move in, because I can see this happening. Oh, your sister can't afford to pay you rent. She has 3 kids to worry about. Just let them live with you rent-free. Am I wrong, guys? Tell me I'm wrong. Next story. This happened in 1998 when I was 8 years old and my sister was 5. From a very early age, I knew that my younger sister was the golden child and could do no wrong in my mother's eyes. My parents had separated before my sister was born. Part of the reason my sister was my mom's favorite was her love for horse riding, which I was never interested in. The more hostile our mother got toward me, the less interested I became in anything she liked. Then came my 8th birthday. I was friends with our next-door neighbor's kids and a few from school. Although I didn't have many friends, I loved the ones I had and was excited to share my birthday with them. My birthday was on a Friday, but my mom told me she'd arranged my birthday party for Saturday, which was fine by me. The day of my birthday party came and I got excited. At that age, I hadn't yet had my heart crushed by my mother's blatant favoritism, but this was the year I began to hate my birthday. The party was arranged to start at 12 p.m., so I wore my favorite dress and sat outside to wait for my friends to arrive. This was when I realized something wasn't right. Outside was the mother of one of my sister's friends with a pony in tow. My mother knew I wasn't interested in horses, and even if I was, this horse was too small for an 8-year-old. As more guests started to arrive, my heart broke more and more. These were my sister's friends, not mine. And for the icing on the cake, out came my 5-year-old sister in a Cinderella costume. None of these people were there for me. This was supposed to be my party, but instead, it became a party for my sister. None of my friends were there. All the birthday presents were addressed to me, but were things I didn't want. My little pony toys and other horse-related gifts from my mother and the people at the party. The only present I got that wasn't horse-related was from our dad. He came later in the day to wish me happy birthday, and by that point the other guests and the pony were gone. I can remember him asking what was wrong, as I wouldn't come out of my room or talk to anyone. My mother acted clueless and said she didn't know why I was so upset. It wasn't until many years later that my dad found out what happened. After that day, I didn't want a birthday party again. Even now, at 30, I don't make a big deal out of my birthday. I still celebrate it, but I don't do birthday parties. My sister has changed a lot since then, and I don't hold any grudges for the things our mother did. We don't speak to our mother anymore, and our father passed away in 2009 when I was 19. It's tough sometimes, but my sister and I are really close, so we have each other to lean on for support. I'd be lost if it weren't for her. Oh my goodness, guys, what a terrible thing to have happen to an 8-year-old. This has to be one of the cruelest, pettiest, most stunning acts of favoritism I've ever heard of. My heart is breaking just thinking about Opie standing there on her birthday, watching while her sister's friends came in and not hers. What was the mom thinking? The way these stories unfolded got me thinking deeply. So here's my take. The hospital donation story infuriates me. Karen demanding your console for her son over sick kids? Peak entitlement. I admire your fiancé's calm shutdown. Her "it's not a competition" line was perfect. Ignoring hospital kids' needs while claiming her son deserves it more is shameless. Your persistence in donating the next day? Heartwarming. The game shop Karen blaming you for her kid's Christmas? Absurd. I've worked retail, empty display cases are standard, not deceit. Her refusal of practical solutions like gift cards and expecting you to fetch games? Delusional. I'd have been tempted to sarcastically offer to rap air. The toxic dad story hits hard. I've seen overbearing parents push outdated ideals. His holiday control and dismissal of your passions like writing? Infuriating. Choosing your girlfriend's family for a peaceful celebration was wise. Guilt-tripping you as ungrateful? Manipulative nonsense. You deserve joy, not his ego. Grandma's classroom bullying is awful. I'd be mortified if my teacher targeted me like that. Spreading rumors about your boyfriend to shame you? Cruel. Your mom's fierce defense was heroic. Shutting down that gossip was justice. I'd have cheered her on. Grandma's denial? Typical Karen. The 33-cent grocery store chase is hilarious. I love your Batman moment confronting that distracted Karen. Her indignation over pocket change? Ridiculous. The cashier's gratitude must have felt great. I'd have done the same. Small acts of justice matter. The pen-stealing Karen is petty, thinking spending $100 entitles her to your best pen. Laughable. Your boss's ban letter was perfect. Thieves don't get rewards. I'd have snatched it back mid-stride. The salad tub Karen's tantrum over a clear sale sign is exhausting. I've faced similar retail nonsense. Her entitled rant and pin fumble? Embarrassing. The manager caving was weak. I'd have held firm. Her victory only emboldens more Karens. The sister demanding your house is outrageous. I'd never let family guilt trip me into giving up my home. Your Reddit post exposing their entitlement was brilliant. Their meltdown was deserved. Offering financial help was generous. Her rejection proves her greed. The birthday party theft by your mom is heartbreaking. I can't imagine an 8-year-old's pain watching their day hijacked. Her favoritism was cruel. I'm glad you and your sister cut contact. Your resilience shines. Skipping parties is valid after that betrayal. These stories scream entitlement. From Karens to toxic family, your strength and clapbacks inspire me. Keep standing firm. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our Entitled People series. If you enjoyed the stories today, do hit that thumbs up button. If you missed the last episode, check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you.